So this is just a really quick introduction to sampling in Ableton Live. Everything I do today you can do in the light version of Live as well as the standard version or the suite. So you can do this in the freebie. I'm not going to use any of the advanced features, and we're not going to go too heavily into the functionality of Live. This is all about just getting a sound in and sampling it. So when you open a new live session, you get this. It gives you a couple of MIDI tracks and a couple of audio tracks across the top. The way Live works is in this session view. It's sort of a top to bottom approach, and you can mix and match different loops. And it's sort of really good for jamming and playing live. But what we're going to do is change the view to the arrangement view, which is like a more traditional left to right DAW. To do that, you've got this controls up here. So this top one swaps you to the horizontal arrangement view, whereas the bottom one takes you back to the session view. So I'm going to pop it onto arrangement view, and this now works very similar to Logic or Pro Tools. You've got your play button, you've got your stop, you've got record, everything. It starts from the beginning and ends where it ends. You've got your tracks down here. So I've got my MIDI track at the top, and what I'm going to do is just put some drum samples in. So if I go to instruments on the left, if you can't see the browser, just use this little expanding icon, and in the live light you should have drum rack. If I click on that, I'm just going to drag it onto my first MIDI channel. Just drag and drop. And that's opened up this window here. You see I've got C1, C sharp. What this is, it's a number of pads or keys, and I can stick an audio sample on each one of these. So I'm going to go to my Finder. I've already pulled out a couple of samples I want to use, but say I want to use this sort of ball dropping for my kick drum. I click and drag it onto C1. And you can drag these samples from anywhere. You can take them out of any kind of desktop browser or from another project. Just drag and drop functionality in this. And I can see now I've got my sample imported onto C1. If I want to play it on my keyboard, I need to arm the track. So on the channel itself, hit the little red arm button, very similar to Logic. And then if I press C1 on my MIDI keyboard, I can play the sample. If I want to shorten it, I can see my start and end point here. Just drag that one back. Get it nice and tight. And there we go, one done. Go to my Finder, drag on my second one. I put this on the second key. Now I want to use this as kind of like a snare. But first thing I need to do is just change this length of it. So I'm going to take the start point and end point. There we go. Let's grab my third one. I'm going to use some hats. Doesn't matter which key you stick it on, as long as you remember. You need to shorten that. If you did accidentally stick it on the wrong key, just click and drag it to a different one. I'm going to put a bit of a fade out on this. So down the bottom, you've got fade in, fade out. I'll pull that up. Maybe extend the release. There we go. So that's all my samples in. What I need to do now is record a pattern. Works very similar to any other DAW. Press record, it will give you a 1 bar count in. And you can then play your part and press stop to finish it. What I will say is you need to turn the click on. That's this here. You can toggle on and off. If I turn it on, then it'll play throughout the whole thing. So I'm just going to record a part in. desktop. And if I double click on the region, I can see my MIDI there. Now I ran this a little bit long, so I'm just going to change the endpoint just to snap it to 4 bars. And then to quantize, select them all, draw a circle around, and then edit, quantize, and it's got the shortcut there. If I hit play, can move anything that's a bit wrong. If I want to copy and paste, exactly the same as in any other DAW. Click and drag to move the notes around. I've got my drum groove. Again, I can paste that, make it longer throughout the track. Cool, let's just look at a melodic instrument. So for this, I'm not going to use drum rack, I'm going to use simpler. Again, you should have this in Live Light. Just click and drag it onto the MIDI channel. And I'm going to make sure this one's on, so now this one's off. So this opens up this simpler window at the bottom. And it just says drop sample here, so that's what we're going to do. I've got a keyboard note here, just going to drag it in. And straight away, I can play it in. On the keyboards. You got a few kind of rudimentary controls here. You have got a filter. If I want to take some top end off, just roll that back. You've also got an envelope here to change the attack, decay, sustain, and release. And again, you can record it in the same way. Double click, select them all, edit, quantize. And so on. What we can do when we sort of finish playing all our samples, if you're kind of more comfortable mixing in a different DAW, we can just select everything, go to File, Export, and then this is how you bounce out. So what I'm going to do, I don't want to bounce the master because I want to mix this separately. Instead, I can go to individual tracks. If I hit export, what that would do is give me individual stems for each of these tracks, which I can then drag and drop into Pro Tools and mix it. Just hit export when you're done.